She doesn't fall in love with your hands. She falls in love with how you make her feel without ever touching her. If you can linger in her mind, if your words echo in her silence, if your presence leaves a mark deeper than skin, then you've already touched a part of her no one else sees. That's real seduction. The kind that starts long before the first kiss. Ladies and gentlemen who dare to understand women on a deeper level, let me tell you a secret about seduction. True seduction doesn't start with the body. It starts with the mind. You can touch her without ever laying a finger on her. You can turn her on without saying a single vulgar word. The kind of man who knows how to do that, that's the kind of man she thinks about at night. Women are not turned on by what they see alone. They are turned on by what they feel. And when a woman feels seen, heard, and understood, her defenses melt, her guard drops, and her curiosity spikes. That's when she leans in. That's when you've got her, without even trying to touch her. So how do you do it? Start with presence. Put your phone down. Look her in the eye. Not in a creepy way, but like you actually care to hear what she has to say. When a man gives undivided attention, it hits differently. It sends a message that says, I'm not distracted. I'm here, and I see you. Speak with intention. Your voice, it's one of your most powerful tools. Slow down. Lower it slightly. Let your words dance in the silence. You don't need to be a poet, but you need to speak with clarity and curiosity. Ask her things that make her think. Not just how was your day, but what made you smile today? Or what are you passionate about lately? Make her mind go places it's not used to going. Next, lead with confidence, not arrogance. There's a difference. Confidence is grounded. It doesn't need to prove anything. It doesn't boast. It simply is. When you walk into a room with that energy, she feels it. Not in her ears, in her spine, in her chest. That's mental seduction. Energy that doesn't scream, but pulls. Now let's talk about the power of mystery. You don't need to tell her everything. In fact, you shouldn't. Reveal pieces of yourself, like chapters in a good book, just enough to keep her wanting to turn the page. Leave her wondering. Let her imagination fill in the blanks. Trust me, what she imagines is 10 times more powerful than anything you could show her. Then there's emotional intelligence. Women crave a man who understands emotional nuance. Not someone who fixes everything, but someone who can sit with her when she's off, who can read the room, who knows when to be silent and when to speak up. That emotional balance is rare and it's addictive. But don't mistake all of this for manipulation. This isn't about pretending. This isn't about playing games. This is about mastering your energy. Being someone who operates from authenticity. Someone who doesn't chase, but invites. Someone who doesn't demand, but attracts. The man who seduces a woman's mind is the man who understands that the body is simply the final frontier. The real conquest begins long before that, when her guard drops, when her breath catches for a moment, when she's thinking about you while brushing her hair, while staring at the ceiling, while scrolling her phone, hoping your name pops up. It's not about the loudest guy in the room. It's about the man who understands silence, nuance, energy, the man who makes her feel safe and a little dangerous at the same time. Because when you seduce her mind, her body will follow. And you'll never need to lift a finger to make her crave your presence. Let me tell you a secret about seduction. True seduction doesn't start with the body, it starts with the mind. You can touch her without ever laying a finger on her. You can awaken her without even getting close. The most powerful kind of intimacy is the one that begins inside her thoughts, where she's replaying your words, analyzing your tone, wondering what you meant by that look, and catching herself smiling when you're not around. This is what it means to seduce her mind. This is where the real game is played. It's not about cheesy lines, not about money or abs, and definitely not about showing off. It's about energy, emotional presence, and awareness. A woman is not drawn to a man simply because he looks good or says the right things. She's drawn to how he makes her feel when he enters the room, when he speaks, when he listens. It's the feeling that lingers when the conversation ends. If she feels a shift in the atmosphere when you're near, you're doing it right. Most men are obsessed with physical dominance, forgetting that mental stimulation is where most women live. If you want to reach her, don't go for her body, go for her thoughts. Be the man who listens deeper than the surface. Be the man who makes her feel like what she says isn't just heard, it's felt. When you do that, she doesn't forget you. You occupy space in her mind. She thinks of you when she's cooking, walking, or lying in bed. Presence is magnetic. When you're with her, actually be with her. Put the phone away, make real eye contact, and hold space. Women are constantly surrounded by noise. Men talking at them, men trying to impress them, men trying to buy their attention. But when you simply choose to be present, fully, you stand out. In a world where everyone's rushing, pausing is powerful. A woman notices the man who slows down for her, who doesn't try to rush the moment, and in that stillness, connection happens. You don't need to impress her with status. Impress her with depth. Ask her something no one else does. Instead of asking her what she does for work, ask her what sets her soul on fire. Instead of what's your favorite movie, ask her what story has stayed with you since childhood. That's how you pierce the mental layer. That's how you leave fingerprints on her thoughts. Your voice matters more than you realize. The way you speak, the pace, the tone, these things affect how she feels in your presence. Speak slowly. Breathe between your words. Don't rush. When you speak with intention, she listens with intention. And when you're calm, centered, and in control of yourself, she feels safe to let go. This isn't about manipulation. It's about resonance. If you want to reach her, your words must carry weight, not fluff. Every word you say either builds trust or breaks it. So speak only when you have something real to say. Let your silences be as meaningful as your words. Women are intuitive. They pick up on everything, your vibe, your energy, your inconsistencies. Be real, be consistent, be intentional. There's a mystery in not revealing everything. Don't rush to tell your entire story. Let her discover you piece by piece. Give her just enough to make her wonder. The human mind is attracted to puzzles. Let her mind engage with yours. That intrigue, that wondering, that's where the desire begins. It's not about being aloof, it's about being layered. When a man has depth, a woman can feel it without him saying much. She senses there's more to uncover, and that makes her come closer. Speak with intention. That alone can change everything. Most people speak to be heard, but very few speak to be felt. And when it comes to women, the ones who are mentally and emotionally attuned, they are not moved by noise. They are moved by words that carry energy, by conversations that shift something inside them, A man who understands this doesn't waste his breath on flattery or overused compliment. He chooses his words like an artist choosing each brushstroke. Every word has purpose. Every question carries depth. Every pause is deliberate. And in those moments of still, subtle connection, the seduction begins. Not of her body, but of her soul. When you slow down your speech, something interesting happens. Your presence becomes stronger. Your voice becomes an instrument of influence. You are no longer rushing to impress. You're grounded. You're composed. And this composure, this deliberate calm, creates a contrast in a world full of frantic, attention-hungry energy. Women notice it. They feel it in their bodies even before they understand it in their minds. You're speaking slowly, clearly, with a rhythm that draws them in. You're not begging for attention. You're inviting connection. There's a huge difference between the two. Ask questions that invite her mind to stretch. Don't ask what she does for a living. Ask why she chose it. Don't ask what her favorite song is. Ask what song saved her. When you ask questions that reveal emotion, memory, or passion, you give her permission to show up as more than her surface. You tap into the deeper parts of her that are rarely acknowledged. And when a woman feels safe enough to explore those parts with you, her mind begins to bond. She stops seeing you as just another man. She begins to feel emotionally exposed around you in a way that feels liberating, not dangerous. And don't underestimate the power of well-placed silence. Most men rush to fill gaps in conversation because they fear awkwardness. But the truth is, silence isn't awkward when it's held with confidence. In fact, silence can be intensely seductive. Let her feel the weight of your gaze. Let her sit in the pause after a meaningful sentence. Let her process. Let her wonder what's coming next. In those moments, she's not just listening, she's feeling, she's engaging, she's being pulled into your frequency. A man who can express himself with emotional clarity without being overly emotional commands attention. Speak from your truth, but don't offload. Talk about your experiences, but don't make them your identity. Women are drawn to men who have depth, but not drama. The way you speak about your past, your dreams, your values, it reveals your emotional temperature. A woman doesn't need a perfect man. She needs a present one. She needs to know that when you open your mouth, she'll be challenged, comforted, intrigued, or inspired, not just entertained. Your tone should reflect emotional awareness. Are you playful when the moment is light? Are you grounded when the moment is deep? Can your voice guide her into vulnerability without force? Can it hold space for her without needing to fix her? That emotional intelligence expressed through tone and timing is powerful. It's not about performance, it's about authenticity. Speak in a way that shows you've done the work within yourself. That's the kind of voice that turns heads and touches hearts. Women remember how you made them feel. And much of that feeling is created through how you speak, what you say, and how present you are when you say it. Words can be a weapon or a gateway. Choose them wisely. Use them slowly. Let them linger. Because when you speak with intention, you don't just have a conversation, you create an experience. And that's how you begin to live in her mind, rent-free. Lead with confidence, not arrogance. The difference is subtle but powerful. Confidence is quiet. It doesn't need applause or validation. It walks into the room and owns space without making noise. It doesn't demand attention, it attracts it. And that kind of energy, that's what a woman notices. Even before a word is spoken, confidence tells her, without saying a thing, that you are comfortable in your skin, that you are rooted in your identity, and that you're not trying to convince anyone of your worth. Arrogance, on the other hand, is loud. It boasts. It seeks approval. It needs eyes to survive. It's built on insecurity. And the truth is, women can feel the difference almost instantly. When a man leads with confidence, he becomes magnetic. Not because he's trying to impress, but because he's not trying at all. There's something incredibly seductive about a man who walks slowly, speaks calmly, and doesn't need to fill every silence with sound. His energy does the talking. His presence creates curiosity. A confident man listens more than he speaks. He observes. He notices the details. The flicker in her eyes when she's excited. The hesitation in her voice when she's unsure. The subtle body language that most men overlook. He doesn't rush to prove himself. He doesn't compete. He knows who he is. That alone is rare, and rarity is attractive. A woman feels safe with a confident man, not just physically, but emotionally. She knows he won't crumble under pressure. She senses that he can hold her emotions without absorbing them. He has boundaries, but they're not walls. He's open, but not needy. And in that balance, she finds herself drawn closer, even when she doesn't understand why. Confidence is not just about how you stand or how you speak. It's about how you carry yourself when no one's watching. It's the quiet discipline. It's the restraint. It's the self-awareness. These are the things that separate the man who excites her for a night from the man who lingers in her thoughts for weeks. The confident man doesn't need to flex. He lets results speak. He doesn't chase validation through compliments or exaggerated stories. He tells the truth. He's honest about what he wants. He doesn't manipulate or overpromise. He communicates clearly but with warmth. He's firm but kind. That blend of strength and softness is something most women rarely encounter, and when they do, they lean in. Because in a world full of performers, a man who is just real is irresistible. Confidence also shows up in how you handle her. Not control her, handle her. When she tests you, you don't react, you respond. When she pulls away, you don't chase, you observe. You hold your frame, you don't try to fix her moods, but you don't ignore them either. You acknowledge them without making them your burden. And that response tells her more than any compliment ever could. It tells her you're emotionally strong, emotionally intelligent, and emotionally unavailable to drama. That's the kind of energy that calms her storm, not fuels it. Being confident doesn't mean you know everything. It means you're okay with not knowing and still showing up. It means you're curious, not insecure. It means you respect yourself enough to walk away when respect isn't reciprocated. And most importantly, it means you are not afraid to be alone. That's the ultimate display of self-assurance. A man who enjoys his own company, who isn't desperate for someone to complete him, but open to someone who complements him. A man like that doesn't seduce with tricks or tactics. He seduces with truth, with consistency, with his ability to stand still in a world that's constantly shaking. Women don't just want a man who looks good. They want a man who feels good to be around. Now let's talk about the power of mystery. Mystery isn't about being distant or cold. It's about being intentional with what you reveal and when you reveal it. It's the art of being seen but not fully understood, of giving just enough to intrigue her while still holding something back. In a world where oversharing is common and attention spans are short, mystery is magnetic. It draws her in, not by force, but by invitation. When you create space for curiosity, you invite her to explore you, your layers, your thoughts, your intentions. and that exploration becomes the beginning of seduction. Men often believe that in order to keep a woman interested, they must constantly prove themselves. But that's not true. The most captivating men are those who know the value of pacing. They don't lay all their cards on the table in the first conversation. They share themselves slowly, with precision. They understand that when something is fully exposed, it loses its edge. But when something is revealed piece by piece, it builds anticipation, and anticipation is one of the most powerful forms of desire. A woman's mind loves a good story, and when you allow her to unravel you like a book with unexpected chapters, she's hooked. This isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about holding your identity as sacred. It's about not giving yourself away to anyone who hasn't earned the right to see the deeper parts of you. Women don't want to solve you, they want to discover you. That subtle difference changes everything. Because when she feels like she's the one peeling back your layers, when she feels like she's getting access to a side of you that no one else sees, she becomes emotionally invested. An emotional investment is what keeps her connected long after the conversation ends. Mystery is also about energy. It's the way you show up without explaining your every move. It's how you hold a little silence after she asks you a question. Not because you're hiding, but because you're thoughtful. It's how you don't feel the need to explain every detail of your past, but instead let your values, your discipline, and your behavior speak for you. A mysterious man doesn't need to talk about who he is. He shows it in the way he walks, the way he listens, the way he maintains boundaries without being aggressive. And when he does speak, it matters. His words have weight because they're not used carelessly. You create mystery by being multifaceted. Be the man who's strong yet emotionally in tune. The man who's ambitious but still values stillness. Be the man who enjoys his own space but still makes her feel special when she's in it. Let her feel that there's more to you than what meets the eye. That duality, the soft edge with firm boundaries, the silence with sharp insight, the passion with restraint. It's that combination that makes her curious. It makes her wonder what's underneath the surface. And that wondering is where the seduction lives. Give her something to imagine. Let her walk away from your presence with questions she wants answered, emotions she didn't expect, and a spark that won't let her forget. A man who gives too much too soon becomes forgettable. A man who gives the right things at the right time becomes unforgettable. Let your mystery be your strength. Let it create a space where she wants to return, not because you demanded it, but because you made her feel something she can't quite name. And when a woman can't explain how you make her feel, that's when you know you've touched something deeper than her body. You've touched her mind. So if you truly want to seduce her, start by seducing her mind. Let your energy speak before your words ever do. Let your presence linger longer than your touch. Because when a woman feels you in her thoughts, when she craves your presence in silence, and when she trusts you without even knowing why, that's when she's yours in ways that touch never could. Seduction is not about taking, it's about awakening. And the man who learns to do that, without ever laying a hand on her, is the one she'll never forget.